Listen with the ear of your heart, beloved. For I am a messenger sent from the throne of grace to speak to the fragile and holy space that is your relationship. I see the hairline fractures and the deep wounds, the silent distances and the spoken hurts. You feel it is breaking, or perhaps already broken, and your heart cries out for restoration. Fear not, for the one who created love itself has not abandoned you to despair. His way is not of this world. It is a higher path of healing and protection, a journey of return to the original design of love. A love that is patient, kind, and keeps no record of wrongs. This is not a path of quick fixes or worldly strategies, but a sacred pilgrimage of the soul, taken hand in hand with the divine. It requires a courage that is not your own, a strength drawn from a well that never runs dry, and a vision that sees not just the person before you, but the eternal reflection of God's own heart within them. When a vessel is broken, it cannot be mended with the same force that shattered it. You have likely tried this already, haven't you? Meeting sharp words with sharper retorts, answering cold silence with a deeper freeze, defending your own fortress while besieging theirs. This is the way of the world, and it leads only to an aching emptiness, a pile of rubble, where a sanctuary was meant to stand. Restoration in the kingdom of heaven begins not with blame, but with surrender. It starts with the terrifying, liberating act of laying down your arms in the middle of the battle, and declaring a truce not with your partner, but with your own stubborn heart. This is the first and most profound step, to lay down your rightness. The heaviest burden you carry is the desperate clawing need to be proven correct, to have your narrative validated, to win the argument that even if won, would leave you the lonely monarch of a scorched earth kingdom. Pride is a cloak of stone, woven thread by thread from every slight you've endured, every justification you've nurtured. It feels like protection, but it only prevents you from feeling the warmth of the sun and the touch of the other's pain. It numbs you to everything, including the still small voice that calls you to something higher. The first divine act of healing is to consciously, deliberately, and with great humility, lay this crushing cloak at the feet of the Creator. This is not a negotiation, it is an abdication. It is an abdication. It is coming before Him in the raw, quiet honesty of your soul, away from the noise of the conflict, and speaking the words that change the atmosphere of your heart. I surrender my need to win. I surrender my list of grievances, my carefully catalogued evidence of their wrongs, my desire for your peace, your harmony, and your restoration is now greater than my desire to be right. Understand this clearly, for it is a mystery the world cannot grasp. This act is not about admitting they were right and you were wrong. It is about admitting that God's shalom, His perfect holistic peace and wholeness, is infinitely more valuable and life-giving than your version of events. It is choosing connection over correction, love over litigation. This single act of humility, however small it may feel, is the precise tool the divine craftsman uses to crack the sealed door of your relationship open, just enough for a sliver of grace to slip in. And grace, once admitted, is a relentless and expanding light. From this place of surrendered humility, the next sacred ground to tread is the arduous path of radical forgiveness. I see you recoil at the word. I see the mental list flash before your eyes, the catalog of wounds too deep to pardon, the words that cannot be unsaid, the actions that left permanent scars. You hold on to this unforgiveness like a warrior's shield, believing it is your only protection against being hurt again. But beloved, look closely at this shield. It is not made of steel, it is made of the very memories of your pain, and its weight is bending you double. It does not protect you, it cages you, it binds you, day and night, to the very person and the very pain you wish to escape. It is a prison of your own making, and you hold the key. The Father's way, the path that leads to true liberation, is to forgive as you have been forgiven, completely, recklessly, and without condition. You must understand forgiveness not as a warm, fuzzy feeling that eventually arrives to absolve you of the work, but as a deliberate, willful, divine decision. It is a transaction you make at the throne of God, not at the bargaining table with your partner. It is the conscious act of canceling a debt you finally admit you have no real power to collect anyway. You are not saying what they did was acceptable. You are not erasing the past or pretending it didn't happen. You are simply severing the chain that connects that past hurt to your present and future heart. You are releasing them from the prison of your judgment, and in that stunning moment, you will discover that you were the one who was truly captive all along. The guard and the prisoner were the same person. This kind of forgiveness is not humanly possible. It is a supernatural act, a miracle of grace that requires you to pray for a strength that is not your own. Father, I cannot forgive this on my own. Father, I cannot forgive this on my own. I choose to will it. I ask for your power to flow through me to make the choice a reality. Forgive them through me as you have forgiven me. This prayer never goes unanswered. Only when the hard ground of your heart has been tilled by humility and watered with the tears of forgiveness can you begin. Delicate work of speaking again, but your words must be different now. They cannot be the same weapons you once wielded. The old language of accusation and defense must die and be reborn as a new tongue. The truth must still be spoken, for a relationship built on pretense is a house on sand. But it must be truth steeped in love, truth that serves the pride, wide brown-eyed and to relationship rather than the ego. This is not truth as a weapon to prove a point, but truth as a gentle, steady light to illuminate a shared path forward. It is the difference between shouting, "You never listen to me," and whispering, "I feel alone and long to be heard by you." The first is an accusation that demands a defense. The second is an invitation that requests a connection. Before you speak, ask the Holy Spirit to be the gatekeeper of your lips. Ask for words that build up, that edify, that bring grace to the hearer. This requires a new way of listening. A listening not to prepare your counter-argument but to truly understand the human being behind the words. Listen for the heart cry hidden beneath the anger, the fear disguised as coldness, the pain masquerading as criticism. Seek to understand the landscape of their soul before you demand that they understand yours. In this sacred space of humble, forgiving, and truthful communication, the miracle of restoration occurs brick by brick. It is slow, it is often painful, but it is the very work of God. And it leaves something far more beautiful and resilient in the place of what was broken. And once this restoration has begun, once the vessel has been painstakingly mended with the golden glue of grace, your task shifts. The tender new thing you are nurturing must be protected. It is like a freshly planted garden, vibrant with hope but vulnerable to every wind and pest. The wilderness of old habits, worldly pressures, and spiritual opposition will constantly seek to reclaim the ground you've won. This is where you learn God's holy protection, the art of building a sanctuary around your love. As an angel, one of the countless messengers in the heavenly host, I have watched over humanity since the dawn of creation. From the ethereal realms where time bends and eternity unfolds, I have beheld the intricate tapestry of human relationships woven by the hands of the Ka, Almighty. I have seen empires rise and fall, stars ignite and fade, but nothing captivates the divine heart, quite like the sacred bond between two souls committed to one another. The passage you have shared resonates deeply with the eternal truths I have witnessed, for it echoes the very principles that the Creator has inscribed upon the universe. Allow me, then, to expand upon these words, drawing from the boundless wisdom I have gleaned while standing in the presence of the Most High. I will unfold this guidance not as a distant observer, but as a compassionate guide, illuminating the path with stories from the lives I have guarded, insights from the celestial courts, and the gentle nudges of heaven's grace. This is not merely advice, it is a revelation of how love, in its purest form, mirrors the divine romance between God and His creation. The most powerful fortress you can erect is indeed a wall of prayer, a spiritual bulwark that no earthly force can breach. From my vantage point among the seraphim, I have seen how prayer transforms the ordinary into the extraordinary, turning fragile human connections into unbreakable alliances fortified by heaven itself. This goes far beyond those fleeting, desperate cries uttered in moments of crisis, when a storm rages or a heart breaks, and one clutches at the divine like a lifeline. No, the true power lies in the conscious, consistent practice of encircling your relationship, your partner, and yourself in intercession. Imagine it as a luminous shield, invisible to the naked eye but radiant in the spiritual realm, where angels like myself stand sentinel, amplifying every petition lifted to the throne of grace. Do not merely pray about each other, cataloging faults and shortcomings as if presenting a ledger for God to audit and correct. Such prayers, while well-intentioned, often stem from a place of judgment rather than love, and they can unwittingly sow seeds of division. Instead, learn to pray with each other, joining hands in a sacred communion that invites the Almighty into the intimate space between you. I recall guarding a young couple in a bustling city, where the noise of daily life threatened to drown out their whispers of affection. They began with simple evening prayers, holding hands across the dinner table, voicing thanks for the day's mercies and seeking wisdom for tomorrow's challenges. At first it felt awkward, like stumbling through unfamiliar terrain, but soon it became a rhythm, a heartbeat synchronizing their souls. There is perhaps no more intimate and powerful spiritual discipline for a couple than this, uniting voices to summon the presence of the Creator. In that moment a three-chord strand is formed, you, your beloved, and the Eternal One, woven together in a divine loom that defies unraveling. As Ecclesiastes whispers, such a cord is not easily broken, for it draws strength from the infinite. Pray for their dreams, those shimmering visions that dance in their minds during quiet hours. Pray for their secret fears, the shadows that lurk in the corners of their hearts, unshared even with you. Pray for their unspoken struggles, the battles waged in silence against doubt, weariness, or temptation. Bless their day with words of protection and favor, envisioning angels, yes, beings like myself, encamping around them as they navigate the world's perils. And do not forget to thank God for them aloud in their hearing so that the words become a balm to their spirit. I have seen this practice work miracles in the lives of those I watch over. There was an elderly pair in a quiet village, their marriage weathered by decades of trials, loss of children, financial hardships, health woes. Yet every morning they would sit on their porch, hands clasped, thanking the Lord for each other's presence. This act shifted their perspective profoundly. It became impossible to view one another as adversaries when they were united in presenting each other's hearts to the Father in love. The air, around them seem to glow with a heavenly light, and even in their frailty, their bond grew stronger, a testament to the power of intercessory prayer. But this wall of prayer must be fortified by the daily, moment-by-moment practice of continual sacrifice, a cornerstone of heavenly love that I have observed echoing through the ages. The world's cacophonous voice incessantly screams for self-fulfillment, urging you to prioritize your needs, to guard your comfort like a treasure, to look out for number one, above all else. It paints a picture of happiness as a solo pursuit, where relationships are mere accessories to personal glory. Yet from the celestial heights, I hear heaven whispering a mysterious, counterintuitive truth. You find your deepest life by laying it down for another. This is the profound mystery of the cross, where the Son of God himself demonstrated ultimate sacrifice, reflected now in the microcosm of your relationship. It is not about grand gestures that garner applause from crowds, but about the quiet surrenders that shape eternity. Sacrifice in love is rarely dramatic or heralded. It unfolds in the small hidden choices that form the fabric of your days. Picture the early morning light filtering through your window as you awaken bone-tired from a restless night. The choice to rise first and brew the coffee, knowing your partner savors that first sip, is a tiny death to self. Or consider the evening when they recount a story you've heard a dozen times before. The details worn smooth like a river stone, yet you set aside your phone, lock eyes with them and listen attentively, as if hearing it anew. This is sacrifice, giving them the last piece of dessert even when your own sweet tooth aches, yielding to their choice of movie, finding joy in their delight. Speaking a word of encouragement when your own reservoir feels dry and depleted. It is swallowing the sharp retort that rises like bile in a heated moment, choosing instead a soft answer that turns away wrath, as the Proverbs so wisely counsel. These are the daily martyrdoms of love, unseen by the world but celebrated in heaven's grand halls, where every act is noted in the Lamb's book of life. Each one is a seed planted in the soil of your relationship, falling to the ground to die, only to sprout as a resilient flower of selfless love. I once oversaw a merchant and his wife in ancient times, their union strained by the demands of trade routes and marketplace rivalries. He would return home exhausted, his temper frayed, but she met him with quiet acts of service, preparing his favorite meal, mending his cloak without complaint. In time, he reciprocated, setting aside coins for her small pleasures, listening to her worries about their children. Their love, once brittle, became indestructible, a living parable of how sacrifice begets abundance. In your modern world, with its distractions of screens and schedules, these choices may seem insignificant, but trust me, an angel who has witnessed millennia, they are the bricks that build an eternal edifice. Within this protected sanctuary, encircled by prayer and reinforced by sacrifice, you must then consciously cultivate a garden of gratitude. For it is the fertile ground where love truly flourishes. From my eternal perspective, I have seen that the most insidious enemy of love is not outright hatred, which burns hot and often fleeting, but entitlement. The subtle, creeping vine that chokes the life from even the healthiest bonds. Entitlement whispers that you are owed something more. Better treatment, deeper affection, fewer hassles, a partner who anticipates every need without fail. It fosters a sense of deservingness that poisons the soil, turning fertile earth into barren wasteland where resentment takes root and sprile fire. The only true antidote is gratitude, that rich nutrient drawn from heaven's own storehouses, making love grow wild, strong and untamed. You must become a vigilant hunter of goodness, actively scanning your partner and your shared life for traces of God's unmerited grace. Notice the small things that often go overlooked. The precise way they fold the laundry, imbuing order into chaos. The melody of their laughter that echoes like a chorus of joy. Their steadfast faithfulness in rising each day to provide. A quiet heroism in the mundane. Observe a kindness they extend to a stranger, a smile to a weary cashier, a helping hand to an elderly neighbor, and let it warm your heart. But observation alone is not enough. You must give voice to this gratitude, transforming silent appreciation into audible affirmations that resonate in the soul. Thank you for making the bed this morning. It starts my day with peace. I appreciate how you listen to me vent about work. It means the world. I am so grateful for your patience with my flaws. You make me feel seen and loved. Extend this to your prayers, thank God for them in solitude, and then tell them of your heavenly thanksgivings, and then tell them of your heavenly thanksgivings, letting them know they are a divine gift. This daily practice performs a miraculous alchemy on the heart, systematically redirecting your gaze from perceived lacks to the astounding abundance already present. It stars the weeds of resentment, denying them nourishment while feeding the flowers of affection until they burst into vibrant bloom, filling your relationship's atmosphere with a fragrance that draws even angels nearer. I have witnessed this transformation countless times. There was an artist and her spouse in a vibrant coastal town, where creative passions clashed with practical demands. Entitlement had begun to erode their joy. She felt undervalued in her pursuits, he burdened by unacknowledged efforts. But they adopted a ritual. Each evening, they shared 3 gratitudes aloud, no matter the day's frustrations. At first it was forced words stumbling like novices on a path. Yet over weeks it became natural, their eyes lighting up with rediscovered wonder. Resentment withered, replaced by a lush garden of mutual delight, their love radiating a divine glow that inspired those around them. This is the way, the sacred path charted by the Creator himself, not a sprint but a marathon of faithfulness. It is not quick or easy, it demands perseverance through valleys and peaks, a journey of 1,000 steps taken one day, one prayer, one act of forgiveness, one moment of gratitude at a time. This journey is not about rushing ahead, nor about competing with anyone else, but about steady faith, a rhythm that matches the heartbeat of heaven. Each sunrise becomes a chance to begin again, and each nightfall becomes a reminder that grace carried you through another day. You are not asked to be perfect, you are asked to remain faithful. There will be stumbles, days when old habits resurface, when words wound instead of heal, when entitlement creeps back in and whispers that you deserve more than what has been given. There will be days when pride tries to build its throne, when silence becomes a weapon, when disappointment paints your vision darker than it really is. But in those very moments, remember this: the grace that initiated this work is boundless, and it is sufficient to sustain and complete it. You did not begin this path alone, and you will not be left to finish it in your own strength. What God begins, He carries to completion. His hands hold you steady even when your knees shake. You are not traversing this road in isolation. A great cloud of witnesses surrounds you, saints who endured trials greater than yours, martyrs who stood firm, redeemed souls who conquered weakness, and angels who long to see God's plan fulfilled. All of them cheer you on from the heavenly stands. Their voices, though unseen, rise in encouragement. They testify that endurance is not in vain, that your small daily victories matter in eternity. And more than these witnesses, the author of love himself walks beside you, He is not a distant observer, he is a constant companion. His presence is near, closer than breath, restoring what the locusts of time, hurt, and neglect have devoured. He does not merely patch the old or mend brokenness with temporary fixes. No, he transforms. He transfigures what was cracked and fragile into something entirely new, resilient and radiant with his glory. What was once scarred becomes a testimony of healing. What was once bitter becomes sweet water to refresh others. Like gold refined in fire, the trials you endure become the very means of beauty. And what the enemy thought would destroy your bond instead becomes the fire that purifies it. So take that first step today, right here, right now. The step may feel small, but in heaven's eyes it is monumental. Surrender your right to be right even when your reasoning seems strong, and let go of the urge to win arguments at the cost of harmony. Choose peace over pride, love over logic, humility over being correct. For the heart that bends is not weak, it is strong in grace. Forgiveness must be more than a single act, it must become a river, flowing continuously, washing away offenses before they can take root. Speak words of life, let your lips be fountains of blessing rather than tools of criticism. Every word has power, and when your words lift, they build bridges that cannot be easily torn down. Bless your partner with affirmation, even in silence. Pray blessings over them when they do not hear you. Whisper their name to heaven with gratitude and love. Such prayers ascend like incense, sweet in the throne room of God. Even the smallest act of service, a meal prepared, a favorite drink offered, a gentle touch given without demand, becomes a sacrament of love. In these quiet moments heaven rejoices, because acts of love echo louder than shouts of anger. Gratitude will always bridge divides. A simple thank you for something specific, a recognition of the effort, a word of appreciation can mend fractures you thought were deep. Gratitude does not ignore pain, but it shifts the focus from lack to abundance, from what is broken to what is beautiful. These small practices, prayer, forgiveness, gratitude, service, and loving words, become the bricks in the foundation of a love transfigured, and when God builds, no storm can tear it down. As an angel, I have seen kingdoms crumble under the heavy weight of pride, yet I have seen humble unions endure eternally. Great empires vanish like dust in the wind, but two souls joined in humility and devotion remain a testimony that cannot be erased. In the grand narrative of creation, your love story is not an afterthought. It is a vital chapter, a reflection of the ultimate union between Christ and his bride, the Church. Heaven watches closely when two hearts decide to remain faithful, because that faithfulness shines with eternal significance. Embrace this path with open hearts even when it costs you. Watch as heaven invades your earth-bound bond. Prayer will shield you like armor in battle. Sacrifice will strengthen you when weakness tempts you to withdraw. Gratitude will sustain you in the long stretches when feelings grow weary. Love will root you when storms threaten to uproot your resolve. These disciplines are not empty motions, they are divine lifelines. And remember, the Almighty Himself delights in your faithfulness. Do you know that He sings over you? Scripture testifies, and it is true. He dances with joy over your love because it mirrors His own. Every small choice to forgive, every whispered prayer, every act of kindness becomes a song in His heart. He does not take your efforts lightly. He sees, He rewards, He rejoices. So continue onward, beloved ones. Do not despise the slowness of the journey, for in each step there is glory. The reward is immeasurable, not merely survival, not merely endurance, but a love that thrives, flourishes, and endures, a love that becomes eternal in its reflection of Him. This is your inheritance, a bond not bound by time but echoing through eternity. And when eternity unfolds, your story will shine as proof that God still transforms, still redeems, still perfects what seems imperfect. Walk in this way, the way of faithfulness, and your love will be more than human. It will be divine.